Are we good?
And we're transitioning now. You're on, mate.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of Vivid Chats or Vivid Live Chats with the crew. I've got Batson, Curtis, and Lee Nicholas, also known as Lethal Lee. You'll see his Instagram listed below. And I just want to say thanks for joining again.
And that's
Yeah,
how he
man.
robs banks. Like Leigh, that's how he robs banks in
Oh,
that,
he's up there.
that attire.
I was gonna say that every time you pointed, I was like, "That's wrong. That's wrong.
Yeah. No,
That's
no.
wrong." You had it so
Usually I have
good.
it down pat by midstream. I've got it
Yeah.
down pat. I'm like you, Josh. Yep, all good.
Oh, God. All right, guys. As per usual, let us know if our audio's all good. Again, it's one of those things that sometimes it's really fantastic and it just works perfect. Other times it can just mess up and give us a absolute pain in the butt. Yeah, as Bo said, we got Lee Nicholas with us today, and Lee, introduce yourself. Like, where's your car background from? Where does it all start?
Where did it start? I don't know, super young age, super young age. Just obsessed, I suppose. Always playing cars out in like mud pits and sand stuff, it sort of generally is. And as you get older, it snowballs into a bit more of I'm going to say it was more of an obsession for myself. It's just crazy. So I got my first car at 17 and things happen, life progresses, and still playing with old shit boxes, if you want to call them that. Like nothing really changes. So...
And that's where you kind of want to stick to. Is it just being coincidental that you've just stuck to the older stuff, or is it where does it all stick?
I like new stuff, don't get me wrong. And again, we'll probably touch on this a little bit later. It's a very heated topic.
Guys,
New stuff is sick.
We tried to do a test yesterday, and the
Get
test
your popcorn, boys and girls.
we had to separate these two on screen because they didn't stop blabbing at each other. What's right and what's wrong?
I'm both. I'm old and new. I am. It's just everything has its, it's all about the end goal. But we'll save that for later. We'll save that for later.
Stick around, guys. Stick around. We're not putting that conversation out in the first 30 seconds.
So tell us what's behind you, Lee.
Right. So swivel over here. I have a S14, Series 1, Zenki, whatever you want to call it. Bought this car 5-ish years ago, I reckon, almost 6. I reckon, teetering from old mate Josh down the corner here. Pretty much was going to be a street car. Had it for 2 weeks. Heater core shit itself. 18 months later, it's a track car. And then I have a newly acquired a Toyota Cressida. So been looking for a club reg car for a long time. Went down the Commodore wagon path. Didn't want to spend that much. Wanted something big boost, NOS, auto, pretty much like a 6 street car that I can take to the track and just blaze at power cruise and whatever else not. And something I can cart the family with. So I had to have 4 doors.
Yep.
Ended up buying a junker shell, which was no good, and I thought was going to be the car. Then a mate offered me this one, said, I found you a sick car, $500, just come get it. I'm like, oh, sick, when? He's like, tonight. Sent no photos, nothing. Rocked up, and it was immaculate. Probably one of the cleanest Cressidas I've seen in a long time. Passed roadie 2 days later. We now are on a Vivid Club permit, and I've driven it once.
Wow.
Thanks.
Thanks, Corona.
But yeah, so probably start on a build maybe over 18, maybe 24 months to sort of where it get to. But in the meantime, I'll just do the 7M. Hopefully the head gasket doesn't blow in the summertime.
And what's in the heart of them? What's into that engine bay?
In what? The Cressida or the
Both.
14?
Let us know.
Okay. So the Cressida is still bone stock as it is, came out from the factory with in 1992 was the 7M, notorious for blowing head gaskets, inline 3 litre, which isn't bad. Auto, super luxurious, so it's the Grande model, got leather and whatnot, added some fancy Venetians, just goes, why not? Currently in the process of putting some coilovers in, pulled the front apart and the wheel bearings, decided they didn't want to play nice and fell apart in my hands. So that's now on a 2-week wait. And yeah, rear was easy to do, but yeah, so that's pretty much about that. And then the 14, which is over here, currently has nothing in at the moment.
Oh.
It has a gearbox. So the end of last year, I was sending it a little too hard and not paying attention to my gauges, and I cooked it. I didn't turn my thermos on, my own fault, but it was fun. Just saying, it was fun.
You got to pay attention to that danger to manifold sign, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. It's funny when you made that post because that was the same day that it happened. I was like, oh well.
But
You
again,
live and you
one
learn.
of the best looking drift cars out there. Like we were talking to Tony last week, and you can see a little bit of the car there in the background, guys. It's just it's a good looking car. It didn't always look like that. After he bought it from me, it did look like a Lego car. He was putting pieces together, and
it was definitely a different thing of sorts. Went and changed the JDM front guards, so no indicators, and then trying to find a vented bonnet. And mate that I've met through drifting a repeated times said, "Oh, I've got an old school auto salon C West bonnet. You want to get it? Sit, come get it. Come down. I think it's like $50 or something." So I rolled on that. Then a couple of Navan front bars, rolled them. Navan skirts, Series 2 rear pods and bars. Just sort of mixed everything together just to make Drift X. As you sort of do in the rush of things, but the car wasn't going to drive for a while, and we sort of just decided let's enter, and it was let's slam it all together. But before that, I pulled it down. It was a bare shell. There was no fuel tank in it, no interior, no brakes, suspension. It was bare. So in sort of 3 weeks, slapped it together. Did 2 days of driving, and it lasted. So.
I mean, you say like slap it together because like anyone who has the knowledge for it is like, oh yeah, fair enough, yep, cool. But where did it all come from? Like, where did this knowledge of slapping it together come from? Like, what your experience?
I'm a qualified mechanic as a background. So just most of the stuff. I work at dealership stuff. So what you sort of learn, or I learned at home, is purely just what I learned from working on stuff. I've always owned this, and I haven't really owned anything too crazy. I've owned one sort of car to the far left field that it's not really in my normal dream of cars that I would own, but I spent a little bit too much. And anyway, but pretty much just picking stuff up at home. The more you pull shit apart, the easier it is to sort of learn. I'm a very hands-on sort of learner. Other people learn by reading books and sort of hands-on sort of stuff. But yeah, so the more shit you pull it in and out, you learn to know what goes where and what you don't need, so over the shoulder goes, and what you can use. So.
And then you turn a streeter into a track car.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So what I didn't need, it came out of the car. And what I did need sort of stayed in, but it's sort of progressed over time to where it is now. I did a event, obviously the Drift X back in 2016, looking very different. And then decided I want to wrap it.
Yep.
So I talked to Timmy and Andrew down at Wrapped Up and down in Traralgon and sort of said, this is what I want to do. This is my idea. And then we came with the sort of first appearance of it, which was, it's still pink, but we just with a different anime chick on the side, big wing and sort of stuff like that. Took it up to Summer Matsuri in 2017 and I got a day of driving because I blew my motor apart. So, welcome to drifting. So, wow. But we sort of progressed on from there and just shit snowballs and it's sort of hard to keep a figure on things, but you sort of, I wouldn't say I've overbuilt it, but I've got to a point now where I'm just like, I got the money, let's just buy it because I could need it later on. So some stuff is sort of like that and other stuff is a bit, it's needed it because it's sort of time to progress to a point, so.
Josh Hilligers just said awesome graphics on the side of the car. So he just commented in on that one. Thanks for that one, Josh.
Yeah, so the new livery was done by Bling Designs, pretty much just towards the end of last year. So I had 2 years with the same sort of livery on it and still want the pink, still love the pink. But just sort of wanted to change it up a bit. I like to sort of not go to the same business every time, but everybody that's in Victoria in the drifting community, it's good to help everybody in different ways.
Yeah.
So last time Andrew and I did the graphics on this one. So this time I went to Damo and gave him the idea and man, he's knocked this thing out of the park.
Yeah.
And it's only been outside once, so I'm hanging to get back out again. So.
Oh god! And what got you like? Where did the drift scene start for you? Because like you've been in the drift scene quite a while, and like
I've been in and out for a long period of time.
Okay.
I should say when I first sort of got into it, I didn't really know what it was. So back when I was 18, fresh license and whatnot, it was just let's just bang the clutch and see what happens because everybody wants to do a skid, and when it rains, it's the easiest possible way.
Yep.
So that's what happened, and then started finding option videos and stuff like that and whatnot, and sort of catching a few ideas, and then ADGP, full lock days, What else did you have? I think you had Drift Australia. I think was about back then as well. So watching stuff like that, going to them, buying DVDs. Yeah. So and then just for me, it became an obsession. Like it's just it.
But the motorsport's been flowing through you, mate, always. I met you without not drifting. I met you
No,
circuit racing.
we were doing, I ventured down the Honda scene. So I sold my S14 at the time for a Honda Civic. I should say swapped it. So what I would say I made a bit of a silly bank, so someone got a better deal. But the EG that I had at the time had a B18C Type R swap straight out of a Integra JDM model. So I had the B18CR gearbox, 4.4 final drive, naturally aspirated 1.8. So which hauled fucking ass. So anybody that's owned a Honda, don't knock it until you drive one.
And especially around the circuit, like Leigh was throwing this thing around, and S14s and S15s couldn't keep up with him. So, and he's rocking this little go-kart NA around Winton Raceway. That's when I first met him.
Yeah, it was sort of one of those things. So I was kind of like, people are like, oh, you do a track day, you'll love it, this and that, rah, rah. I was like, I'll just roll up. And I think it was just before or just after the 100 mil thing down at Docklands on the pier thing. So it was still slammed, max camber, just on some Hankook S1 Evo street tires, and just, I was so amped up, first session out, and I just went hammer and tong, and I was like, I don't have my time thing. I no fucking idea, but it felt fast. Second session, ran a 144 flat, and then pretty much by the end of the day, rear tires were cooked, and I was just sort of power sliding into every corner, and yeah, just enjoying it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But it's fun, but I suppose the drifting mentality sort of came along with the whole circuit racing thing. Most drifters would know, most people in motorsport, drifting and circuit racing, the way your mind works is completely different. So where you would normally...
Every time I see Leigh enter our circuit days, I'm like, this is not going to end well.
No.
It's like, it's either going to be epic or we're going to push it. One or the other.
It's kind of one of those... Yeah. So your mentality in circuit racing would be, I should probably slow down, whereas a drift, you're like, fuck that, let's speed up. So you just sort of fucking send it and sort of, it's not too bad, but the more dumb shit you do, the more you learn.
Yeah.
So,
cost you. I mean, but, that's the cost of learning, apparently.
I suppose, but it's, in order to succeed, you must fail, I suppose.
Yep.
Melissa's saying you're still Leigh Honda in her phone.
What?
Melissa Thornton saying you're still Leigh Honda in her phone.
Oh, God.
Hey, this is going back to the other conversation we had. We were, how you remember people by the car they drive.
Yeah.
Oh,
there you
yes.
go.
No, I kind of want to own another Civic again, but I wouldn't mind going down the CRV path with maybe a K24 and a bit of boost. Just for the all-drive sort of, watch what they do over in America, and some of this stuff's pretty sick.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I'm all for a boosted Honda. Like that's probably on my to-do list as a fun car.
Yeah.
It's sick.
But that's taking a nice old cheap car and dumping 5-10 grand into it.
Yeah.
It'd probably be a little bit more, I'd say, because I don't think the drivetrain will take up to it.
Or you could dump that into an Audi RS3 or something like that.
Oh, Josh, lighting that fire.
I like you say that, but the other day I was literally driving down M1 in Mexico, and it was strange because I rocked up next to this Honda, and this guy's just like made the passenger side, and I'm just like late to get to where I need to be. So I was enthusiastically driving, and all of a sudden I see I passed, and then I see him come up next to me, and then coming back in, and I kind of looked over. I was like, I haven't really got time to be mucking around. I just want to keep at the constant speed and just get there. And then all of a sudden I heard him downshift and rev up to 8 and was sitting on boost. And his mate's like, I'm like, I want to go with the opinion that I'm still late and I just want to stick to my thing, but I feel like I'm going to get absolutely blistered by this guy. This thing is racketing down at 130 or so. And it's just sitting there, sounding like it's about to take off into the sky. I was waiting for its wings to pop out. Thunderbirds are go, see you later. It was just... And I looked at it, I was like, that was really underwhelming to look at to start with. And then all of a sudden, I was like, my RS3's got nothing.
You should get pretty worried if you
driving to work
next year. That's pretty worried.
I just thought, because even when they are boosted, generally a lot of them that I've seen run really, really loud exhaust, and so
Yeah.
you kind of, when you're next to them, you can't hear that there's a big turbo under there, or you can't hear that the turbo's there at the time because you just hear a lot of engine sound. And so when the boost comes on, it's like, oh, okay, no, like, yeah, maybe I won't race you. It's just really, really undercover, if that makes sense.
The VTEC.
Funny about that.
VTEC.
100%. But yeah.
Leigh, did you tell us the plans for the Crusader? What you want to do with it?
I've never owned a drag car, so I thought define a drag car, I suppose. Never owned like a fast auto, I should say. So I thought.
Are you sticking with the auto?
I am going to stick with an auto. I have a manual car. If I have a manual car on the street, I know I'm going to do something dumb, and I need my license for work. So I feel an auto might sort of keep me in the safe zone. We'll see how long it lasts. Sorry. But yeah, we'll just still play it safe from auto. Don't know what auto I'm going to go yet. Maybe Turbo 400. Could go with a 340 out of the Subarus and Saurus and stuff like that. Not 100% sure, but I have a 1J, which a mate of mine very kindly gifted to me. So that's quite nice.
So very nice gift. I like these
Oh,
things.
it was fantastic. I had an idea, and I've been sort of talking with a few of the boys about an idea, and sort of said, "Oh, do you reckon we can run a 10-second pass for 10G?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So it sort of quickly snowballed, and then I was just like, "This is gonna get really costly." And he's like, "Oh, I've got a spare 1J. It's just sitting here. Do you want it?" And I was like, "You fucking kidding me?" He's like, "No, get set. Oh, yours. Come get it." So I picked it up, and it's now sitting here. And in that same sort of week, another good mate of mine found me a turbo. Extremely cheap. We picked it up, got a pretty much a solid buy, and I was like, "You beauty."
Wow.
So we found a Trust T88, which should see us down quite nicely. So we got that at a pretty solid buy. So we get the same engine builder who will be builds most of my, I should say, my second 14 motor now anyway. He's going to jam me up and build me a sick 1J. So we'll do that, and hopefully low boost to 30 pound on a 75 shot would be good. So
Crazy.
I just want to go hammer and tong at power cruise and just slay dive. It's pretty much about what I want to do. If it runs a 10, sick. If not, it'll do a sick burnout.
And you know what's going to happen? Vivid's going to run a circuit day, and it's going to be on it.
Oh man, I'm going to enter the Crusader for sure, 100%. Just roll it down the straight.
Sorry, we'll do a drag day at the new and improved Heathkit once Lance gets it all done.
I saw that. That should be sick.
That's going to be mint.
Is
Completely new.
With some, circuits coming out and packing them near Cardinia. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, ETA on that's pretty unclear at the moment, but like it's going to be exciting. I think that's going to be a really big step in the right direction for the automotive scene in like Melbourne. I think
and then Lance doing Heathkit and stuff like that as well. He does everything properly and has to be done right. So shout out to Lance, and I'm sure we'll get a drag day happening there for Leigh to bring the car down.
For sure. I've got to run a quick. What was the time? What was the max time? 24 seconds?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I've got to run quicker than 24-second quarter mile in my Mazda 3, so we'll see how that goes.
We'll push it for you.
No.
Backwards.
I'm aiming for like a 18-second quarter mile. If I'm quicker than 20 seconds, I've done my job.
No, Leigh just has to race you backwards in his car.
No, don't do that. That's embarrassing because he'll still beat me.
Oh, I don't know about
We'll give you the push power, Mo. We'll just push it. 18 seconds down.
It depends when you set a deadline. We'll probably just be pushing it. I've been told I have to take my time on this, so it's a bit of a long, lengthy process. So. But will the Cressy be able to track race as well, or is it just straight? It's just going to be straight line, man. I'm not really. The 14 is pretty much the track hack. Like whatever happens, if it gets beat up, it'll upset me. I'll probably cry, to be honest. Like when I blew my motor end of last year, I was a bit teary on mates. He's like, "Wait, man, you just got a misfire." I was like, "Man, it's dead." It took us 20 minutes to start. Like I was very upset. He was very optimistic. He's like, "Oh, he's got foul plugs. Don't stress. But yeah.
He's white up the whole way home, just like tears coming out. I ain't stressing, man. I ain't stressing.
Always your mates that say that while you're breaking, your heart's broken. You've just been in the car or whatever, and your mates, "Don't worry, we'll get it fixed. It's fine."
Yeah. But it's good to have people like that, I suppose, when you've done something dumb or anything does go wrong, they're sort of there. We're not in the same mental state, I suppose.
It's
So it
good.
keeps you somewhat optimistic, and you're not down on, fuck. Whoop, I shouldn't have swore, my bad. That's just
Curtis is going to dump the feed now. The whole thing's gone, guys. Sorry.
I said I would try not to do that, but
I
yeah.
think this is literally the 7th time you've sworn so far. Like, if you rewatch it, there's been
really?
a few re-drops. Like,
Yeah, I didn't even know. There we go. That's the first time I picked up on. My bad. Sorry. But yeah, so Chris said pretty much, man. I was wanting something weekend orientated. Like, I'm still going to retain AC, still heater. Like, want to be able to put the family in it, go for a nice round down the beach, do whatever. Nothing that's
So
going to...
it'll still retain full interior and everything. Back seats, the works.
100%. So
Okay, cool.
So once the motor and everything is in, like, obviously now because the front end, the suspension sort of somewhat pulled apart, source the brake upgrade, that's going in, new bearings, front and rear, new super robust kit front and rear. Obviously, when the 1J and everything goes in, get all engineered just to keep the boys in blue happy. So if I do get pulled over, it's 100% street legal, and we just go and get something to eat. Like, we've done that stuff in our younger days, and it sucks doing defects all the time, and it's a headache. Like, I'm over it.
It's painful. It's definitely painful.
That's, I mean, like, I've thought about buying another shell and putting all the stuff out of the 14 into a street car, and then, but there's, man, I guarantee you I'll lose my license. It'll get defected. I'll get impounded. It's just, I don't know, not worth it within the track days that we have pre-COVID, post-COVID, whatever you want to do. So it's, yeah.
Wow.
But the Chrissy's got a tow bar, so I'll tow the 14.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Will it be able to tow?
Sure.
I'll tow anything, my man. If it's legally allowed to, I probably not.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you've got all that power and all of that.
Transmission, really. Delivery system.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Pretty much.
Obviously, you'll upgrade the rear diffs and stuff.
Not even Christie's, man. Like, so from what I've sort of bit of Googling and YouTubing, and from what I've seen on sort of forum-ish sort of stuff that you find on the book face, there's boys in Sydney and Queensland running 9s and 8s with a trans brake with a stock rear end.
Whoa!
So as far as diff and drive shafts go and hub assembly, man, it's pretty much good. So for a starting base wise, it's yeah, I'm fingers crossed I'm going to meet a budget. But between me and you, I've told Sarah safety upgrades do not come into it.
Sarah,
that is for a family reason only.
It's true. Power. 10 for 10 is power.
Yep. That's 3 people now have said that. So.
And what type of figures are you thinking to get out of the engine? Like, do you know where you need to be to enter that? You know.
So, my vast drag racing experience.
So they've said.
Yeah, from what I've read and stuff like that, anywhere between the sort of 400 to 500 kilowatt range based on weight and obviously transmission, tires, and sort of launch. You should be into a 10, high 10, probably 10.9, 10.8, depending on obviously high power bracket, maybe down to a low 10. But man, like I just want to, the motor itself will be capable of big power. Like it's going to be all out, full forge, big cams, whatever else not, max boost on the spray. So man, if it rolls off the dyno making 550, 600 kilowatt, I'll be ecstatic. Me driving it that fast, another question. I'm probably going to shit my pants a little bit.
That's fair. That is very fair.
So if there's one type of car you'd want to go against, or you had a call out, what would you call out?
Anybody that thinks they're fast, pretty much. Like, I don't really care, man. Like, it's all for fun.
One engine type or one style of car or...
Look at Josh fishing.
I see where this is going.
He's like, woo!
Any sort of competitors out there, Leigh, you can think of?
Yeah, I know nobody. Like, it's just like, if you want to run, let's have a bit of a run. I'm easy. As long as we're having fun doing it, everybody talks smack, man. Smack talk is the biggest thing at the track. Old mate over there has got his 84 Cuda. I don't even know if that's a car, but anyway, some old school thing. He's making like 600 plus. He's like, yeah, sick. I've got, 37-inch radials and all that sort of. It's probably not even a tire, but anyway, whatever else, he's like, yeah, sick. And then I roll up in my little pink car. He's like, man, I ain't racing you. I'm like, yeah, it ain't going to happen. I'm like, oh, let's run and see how we go. Next thing potentially I could smoke with, just saying. He's like, what the fuck? He won't talk to you at the finish line because he's a little bit butthurt. But he shouldn't be because we're all there for the same fucking thing.
Yeah, right.
That's really bad. But you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter where you go, what you do, drifting, circuit racing, time attack, drag stuff. A lot of people, man, they run them out. Let's be honest. Yeah, I mean, most people that do, I don't know whether it's they just want to sling their big dick around. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, like, just whatever goes. I'll race anything. You know what I mean? I'm keen, man. Whether I get beat by 10 yards or fucking what, 10 million, that makes no difference. But
Especially when you rock up in a Cressy with Venetians.
Oh
man,
man, can't
it's
wait.
gonna have
the
the
family
door
get
down,
out the
little
back.
sunshade in the back,
They're
baby
like-
seat in the rear, like.
Dude, this guy bought his grandpa's car. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah, it's not going to be too crazy. Like I ended up took me just on about 4 hours the other day to sort of fit my rear wheels, which probably shouldn't fit the car, but I decided why not? I've got them, so I just put them on. It's going to have a bit more of a drift look, I'd say, more than a drag look. So.
But it's nice to stick with some OG, parts and stuff like that, especially with the turbo and.
Man, the old school Jap stuff is just that's pretty much what's in that 14 HKS cams, cam gears, all that sort of jazz, thrust turbo on that. I ended up my engine builder sourced me a clutch that I had in my first 14 way back when I was 19, which is it's a Blitz twin plate. My bad. Ooh, leopard print. But yeah, you know what I mean. So like, it's just sort of I like the OG stuff. Like, unfortunately, the P-plate drift COVID tax is just skyrocketing everything. But here's what it is. So
I think it's about exactly that. It's knowing what you want, like what your end goal is, and just achieving it. Because I think everyone's end goal is different, and I feel like everyone has a suggestion of where to start, but like maybe where your suggestion to start is doesn't align with the end goal. And you love your old school stuff, and you love exactly like what's behind you, and there's originality to it. And I'm guessing like with the Crusader, it's going to have a kind of a sleeper appearance to it. Is that what you're going for?
probably not. No, not really.
No,
that was
going...
the plan, but I mean, like I said, it'll be somewhat low. Like I fitted some jet wheels up that I said they shouldn't have fit the car, but I've made them fit. So I said it's got more of its dance boy sort of Jap look, I sort of suppose, but
Yep.
I hopefully can sort of shorten the arms in the rear a little bit and stand the wheels up to run a 245 ET on the rims that I have. You know what I mean? It's going to sound straight pipe life pretty much. Fuck mufflers.
Okay.
It's just like I'm not really man. Like it is what it is. So
Yep. Looking forward to it. This is actually something I'm really, really looking forward to seeing and the progression of it. So, and I think what's even awesome is so like you've got so much credit to you as it is already because like on the other side of the garage is something you've already built. It's something that you've built and you've used and you've broken and you've fixed and you've broken again, and it's ready to get built and broken again in the future. But like we already see the validation that like you are making your dreams come true, and so this Crusader's going somewhere, and it's going somewhere in 10 seconds later down the track. So like
I hope 10 seconds. Whether it's 11 or 12, probably going to break my heart, to be honest with you. I think that the hardest thing when you say building a car in general is with the 14. I never started with a budget, and I was like, I'll just keep it simple, and it stayed simple. Like I still have the factory handbrake with the the brake setup. There's no need to change that. It works mint with a good set of pads and discs and stuff like that. So that stuff is as is. Obviously changing wheel alignment specs and whatever else not. Still got the factory S14 brakes on it. They haven't been upgraded. Still like the diff is I think it's a 33 auto diff, so 4.3 with 5-bolt shafts. Nothing too crazy. Auto I've had to upgrade because pushing more power, or manual I should say. So that's now running a CDO 9 box, and then. The only reason I built my first motor was because obviously the motor that was in it had done, was it 270 odd thousand Ks or something? It was pretty high. It lasted 2 days and then went to Matsuri and didn't like Winton and the heat and whatnot, such shit itself. So I bought a second-hand motor. And when I picked it up, the guy said a few things that I probably should have sparked a bit. Nah, probably not going to buy it. So I bought it, put it in the car, and it had a rattle. It had a knock. And I was like, oh, fuck, and toll, and then sent it off to Agus. And he's like, yeah, you've cracked piston 2 and 3. What did you do? It's like nothing. I bought one.
Oh.
So that was the knock, not a timing tensioner. But you know what I mean? Like I should have known, but at the time I was like, oh, fuck, I just need a motor. Just want to get back out. So you sort of do what you do, and then you sort of pay the price. But the last motor I had was in there for 2 odd years, and saying, I think I only did like 6 events. But I'm a bit more of a tinkerer, I sort of suppose. I just like to just tinker all the time and spend money, which is a bad thing. but that's why we've been given a budget for this one. So,
Funny he said we've been given a budget.
yeah, I. So,
You alone.
yeah, I mean, if you're going to build any car, you just got to know what you want to do with it, how far you want to go with it, and then budget's the biggest thing, man, because price of parts, shit goes wrong, it blows out real quick. So,
you need an end goal. Like, everyone's got a
Pretty
starting
much.
point, but you need an end goal.
yeah, whether it, like I said, it's a stance car, whether you want to have the best stance car in Australia, whatever else not. So you want the kit, you want the paint, you want the wheels, you got everything else. All that comes at a price. Same with, what I mean? But you can have a beta of any car. You can have a car, you want to go fast, but it looks like a pile of shit. That is entirely up to your call. You don't have to do a thing as long as it hustles. What I mean? Same thing with drift cars. If it starts, runs, drives, and you slay tires all weekend, whether it's NA, turbo, whatever else, it makes no difference. As long as you're having fun.
Correct.
But the moment you start whinging about what it's costing, you need to rethink about what you want to do with the car.
Amen.
Because fun comes at a price, whether it's, stock or modified. So,
Could not agree more.
yeah, like having big power, it's sick. Don't get me wrong. It's mental just picking a gear and just blazing tires. I kind of miss the lower power days, but more power is just more fun. It's more fun.
I think the worst part is like you'll do everything to your car and you get to the point where either you max out your budget or you max out your, I don't know, plans, your goals, and you're like, all right, cool, this is where I need to be, this is like, I'm happy, this is great, a couple of months go by, and all of a sudden you get in someone else's car, and it's just that little bit quicker, or it's just that little bit better handling, or it's just sounds that little bit better. And then everything goes. Everything's out of proportion. Everything's just like, no, that's not happening. I need that. Like, new plane, scrap the old one.
100%. So with the 14, it's like I said, it started off as just, let's just go have fun. But ever since I was little and going to ADGP events and looking at all these cars and seeing the fancy engine bays and all the parts on them, and and back when we could go, then China stuff wasn't too much around. I mean, when sort of drifting sort of came to Australia, so you had Greddy or freaking Tomei and stuff. I mean, you had money, and these things costed big dollars. Ever since then, I'm like, I want these parts. So I was like, yeah, you got Garrett and Kinagawa that are on the market now. I mean, similar pricing or cheaper, better technology, but man, my heart is just OG. So it's, I wanted a car like this when I was young. So the 14 is now the way I want it. Is, I mean? Like, library will probably always come and go, but power-wise is just, I love an SR. So.
What does the 14 make? What's powers, numbers?
Power-wise, it depends. Do I want to sling my big dick and say over 400, or do we say your lane stems at 300 kilowatts? So, look, we made this just a tad over 300 on 20 pounds. So,
wow.
But it moves, it hustles, like it's good. So it's enjoyable. I kind of wish I had done it earlier, if that makes sense. Like some people, like it depends on the car setup and stuff, I suppose. So as I've changed and progressed as a driver, I've never had a high horsepower car. So everything's been super stiff, super easy to drive, and sort of like that, whatever else not. And with the old setup, even making like 250 odd, the car was probably a little bit too stiff and didn't really do what I wanted it to do most of the time. So in my head, I had all this stuff, I can do it. The car should do this, but it just wasn't doing it. Everybody's like, man, you need to change your shit. But me being a stubborn person, I was like, nah, I got it sorted. I know what I'm doing, man. Relax. And then you start realizing, I kind of need to listen. Sorry, guys. So you start listening, and now I sort of just listen to three people, which is my engine builder, my tuner, and the guy that does my wheel lines. Nobody else comes into the picture. They know the car. They know me, and they pretty much said, yep, let's do this. Bang. No, it's no good. Blah, blah, blah. So if they say buy this part, we buy that part. They say you don't need it. It's a pile of shit. Get this one. We get that one. I go, no, it's sick. We'll just add a bit more of this. We just do that. So that's the hardest thing, I think, when modifying a car. Everybody has their own opinion and their own things and what works for them. Yeah. Everybody drives differently, whether it's circuit, drift, or drag. Doesn't, you know what I mean? Like everybody's reaction times are different, their mentality, whether or not
how hard they want to send it into the corner.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, everybody drives in their own capability. There's no right or wrong way to do it. As long as you're having fun, it's all that matters.
Yeah.
And how, like, I think it would be really kind of interesting, and not many people would actually understand it. Like, obviously, a lot of people would be like, all right, cool, so the S14, it's a track car, you know, you can flick it around a corner, it's a drift car, but then you can take it on a circuit, it's the best of both worlds. But, like, in a sense, you've built it to, you know, go down a straight, plummeting, but then immediately and abruptly spin the tires and go around on the side. But taking it down on circuit, like, do you find you have more limitations that it's set up for drift when you drive it on a circuit than like a normal car would, or do you feel like it's more catered to it? Like, obviously your suspension is better and such, but like, do you find that because it's set up for drift that you're slightly limited on circuit?
Not at all. So pretty much circuit racing and drifting, it's just from what I've been told, this is not 100% true. I have no idea. This is what I'm going from my wheel alignment guide.
No PhD on that.
It's just based on a wheel alignment spec. So heights of car, and then it comes down to tyre compound and stuff like that. So obviously you probably have maybe the same tyres around as where I like to run a semi up front with a normal road tyre in the rear. It's just a lot of people in their drifting thing, they want a lot of slip in the front, so they run a road tyre front and rear. Then a lot of people run semis front and rear. Just depend on what they like. So for drifting, I found a setup that worked for me. For circuit, if I was to go down that path, it's just as simple as probably changing tyres and just changing the alignment spec. So it's nothing sort of too crazy. So
even tunes and like gear ratios and stuff like that, you feel like it doesn't change much because, I mean, I guess with the SR, you've got a pretty good broad application. Whereas like, you know, if you had an LS, you're kind of down on the bottom end for drift, and you want to make sure that you got that low end, you'd run out on the straights if that were the case.
Well, it depends. Like if you're talking drifting wise, the lower the torque, it's some people like response, some people like lag. It comes down to a debate, NA versus boost, you know what I mean, all that sort of stuff. As for drifting, it just like it comes down to driving style. Some people have a really laggy setup and it's all top end. Other people like response because they can just be second gear, just plodding along into third, and it still wants to chalk tires at 2,000 RPM. That is the thing. As for gear ratios, I personally think you don't really need to change too much for our tracks here in Australia. So once you have a ratio that works, so pretty much it just becomes down to diff gears, whether it's 4.3s, 4.1s, 3.9s. Once you find something that works where it doesn't really top out, you don't want to be in your overdrive gear as such. You essentially could almost drive I think every track here in Australia is sort of no worries. I mean, if you're that worried, you just buy a second diff and just change the diff instead of changing, gear ratios. But when it comes to circuit racing, that's completely different. Where you'd have to match everything depending on your straights and cornering speed. That's where it becomes a bit more involved. It's more like World Time Attack sort of stuff, I'd sort of suppose, as for like weekends, sort of just go have fun, where you just make do with what you got.
We had James actually come in and said he found bigger brakes helped him on the circuit, but the drift car was fine. So the application.
That is a valid point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, braking and handling is a big circuit orientated.
Yeah, I think, that's kind of. I don't know if I lost the translation there, but like it was like one of those things that I feel like the drift setup it can be used on a circuit, but like for the circuit use, like obviously on a weekend. Let's take it out to a favorite event and let's do it. Let's run around with mates. By all means, like, you can kind of chuck any car on it, but like to get the results that you're looking for out of a circuit, it's like.
But that's where progression comes into it. Let's say we take an Excel, for instance, right? Yep. You want to go have fun. So, bake down, you need fluids, so you do your brakes and your engine oils and stuff like that. And say you got shitty 13-year-old tyres. You put new tyres on it and you roll with that. And you're like, I want to run a quicker time. So next thing from there would be change the suspension. So you go from there. Next thing, you're finding you're going a little bit faster, so the next thing will be stopping. So it's sort of, but you don't have to do a brake upgrade as such, maybe just pads and discs depending on the weight of your car and rim size that you're running. You got to take all that sort of into consideration as well. Like I know James' car is a fairly hefty old Steve, so big brakes on that thing is probably a mass priority to sort of pull up as we're, the 14. I mean, it's still weighing in at like 1250, so it's still reasonably light.
Yeah, wow.
So
wow.
So, pads and calipers, I mean, just a simple Skyline upgrade. So they got the bigger rotors and stuff like that. Caliper size, they take the exact same pad from what I found out the other day. It's just a difference in disc pretty much. So,
okay.
But most stuff's fairly interchangeable depending on what car and manufacturer and make and stuff like that. I mean, the Cressida I found out, you put a BA Falcon rotor on with a 33 GST caliper and they bolt straight up. Like, what the hell? But again, whoever found that out, thumbs up. I appreciate it. That's fantastic.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
You must have, like, whoever found that out must have had a real Frankenstein concoction of parts sitting around that they just tried out.
a trial and error, you know what I mean? But these people, you know, going back in the old forum, this is Sylvie days, and you know, the Calais Turbo and stuff like all those forums where you could read and sort of watch stuff. I miss those days a lot. I mean, you get a lot on YouTube now, which is good, but I sort of miss reading, I suppose, and looking at pictures and people trial and error.
Forums are dying, man, because everyone just writes on Facebook,
yeah,
and then you get roasted.
It's sort of hit and miss. You don't want to be that Gumby where you sort of ask a question because you legit don't know.
Yeah.
But where else do you ask these days? Because forums aren't about, and YouTube might. I mean, stuff for Cressida. There's nothing on YouTube. There's bugger all. Nobody really makes like a vlog of building anything with the Cressida. It's sort of hard to find stuff on Toyota pages.
Get on it, Lee.
Might need to feel like that, Leigh.
Yeah, Leigh, I think you've just found your next plan.
Man, I sort of tried that pulling this front end apart, and I reckon I pulled all apart and was like, oh, shit, I didn't film anything. Well, there goes a day. So I was like, well, I pulled it apart. I don't know. So, man, like, my video is probably like 5 minutes long if I was to ever do one. But, like, I'm not super tech savvy.
Out there, Leigh's the biggest IT guru. So if you need anything to do with IT, shoot Leigh a message. His Instagram's down the bottom there. Up the top, sorry. So make sure you message him.
Yeah, IT. It's what I specialise in. So.
I'm back in 2, guys. Be back in 2.
Later.
He's running away. He's getting his Pepsi with milk.
Oh no.
You got to try that. You got to try it.
No.
No.
Video of
Speaking of food, I put peanut butter with ham and cheese sandwiches or ham and salami.
Wow.
I find it like a satay sort of sandwich, really.
Wow. Interesting.
I don't eat ham, so I can't try that.
No.
You don't eat meat. Do you eat chicken?
I
have
eat
a chicken
chicken.
sandwich. Have a chicken and peanut butter sandwich. It's satay chicken. There you go. What a winner.
That's weird.
Concoctions for days.
Yeah, but Josh makes me try some crazy stuff.
Hey, but you love it. You know my recommendations are
The
always
one thing I didn't love was the Carolina Reaper sauce that I needed almost to go in an ambulance. All right, let's just remember that.
That wasn't my fault, mate. I didn't bring that sauce
No,
to the house.
that was your fault. You dipped it in the sauce for me.
What did I miss?
I just said you wouldn't. Sauce.
Just talking about the time where Josh Batson almost actually killed me in all legitimacy.
Wow.
There's been multiple times after.
I was going. You guys have had some pretty cool, cute near-death experiences together. I mean, it's really strengthened the relationship. I feel like that's just secret hot sauce.
Look, I'm just stuck with Batson for the rest of my life. Not a bad thing.
For me.
Not a bad thing. He saved me from a few interceptions with the law.
On a night where you got 8 defects as well, which is always fun.
Yeah.
8?
No, four.
Oh, sorry.
Doncaster Highway meet 2000 and...
Yeah, what else do you want to know?
2012?
Something like that.
Copped 4 defects.
Someone's saying tell the story.
No, not happening.
What story?
We had Mr.
So,
Mr. David Barkos. Will hopefully one of our future guests that we'll have on Vivid Chats. Brought a very, very hot sauce to Mo's house.
was it Barkos or was it Mark?
Oh, yes. It was Mark. He jumped out of the back of the car that day near McDonald's.
Yeah.
Running
You
around.
said you kidnapped him.
Yeah.
The one on
So one of our
YouTube,
mates-
apparently, Steph says.
So, one of our mates, Mark, bought this really, 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 really hot sauce from the US. Warnings, you got to sign your waiver, everything. And it's literally, you open it, if you smell it, it is so hot, it'll singe your nose hairs. And so we're all, just giving it a little try. And Batson is really, 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 really good at
Persuasive.
jamming me, so they say. Just jamming me in
Very
general.
persuasive.
And he goes, oh, just dip it. You wouldn't dip it. So I dipped a little bit. He goes, man, that wasn't a proper dip. You got to dip it properly. I'm like, okay. So before the heat actually hit me, I dipped it and chucked it in. And as the first bit hit me, I knew I was done. I was like, I'm out. I
I'm
won't remember
sweating
what
now
happens
thinking
next.
about it.
So I'm Indian. I've been born and raised on spicy food. Like all I did was have curries with chilies, and I can handle my heat. Don't get me wrong. This was the devil. My soul left my body. I was hallucinating. I had a cold shower. I was throwing up. It was game over. I was a statue. And then I didn't go to work for the next 3 days because it was a chain reaction effect. And the inner lining of my stomach actually burnt. And now I get stomach ulcers from spicy food.
He has no stomach now.
I can't eat any spicy food anymore because of that whole instance. So I'm a fake Indian.
You're faking.
Nah, so yeah, it was pretty bad. But yeah, that's the story of how Batson almost killed me.
You're a fake Indian.
Righto.
And my mum's like disappointed that I can't eat spicy food either. So I'm like, oh yeah, mum, I'll have some. She's like,
Oh no.
Wow.
Yeah, spicy
gosh.
food.
good times, good times.
Leigh would eat some spicy food, wouldn't you, Leigh?
That's the negative. I had a 1% chili dish in Thailand and I shit for 4 days straight. That is a big no-go. Man, I have lemon and herb is too spicy for me at Nando's. I have whatever's below that. Like it's
Barbecue.
Yeah. I mean, you get the zinger wing from KFC, and I don't like spice. Let's just put it that way. We're not friends.
Yeah, just like he
Not mates. So Leigh, got a really, really, really big question for you.
I've got a small answer. Yeah.
Just why would someone? Okay, what would you do if you had 50 grand, or say let's say if you had 100 grand right now? Said Leigh, here's 100K.
Yep.
Would you buy a car that's newer, say for 90 and spend 10, or would you buy an older car for 30 and spend 70?
What's your goal with the car?
I want to be able to race it on the track. I want to be able to do drag days. I want to be able to take it on cruises, but also drive it to work every day.
Well, I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot. You buy something newer. But
I was like,
you know what I mean?
you can't beat that argument. Like, you just set up the goal for a new car.
was
Like,
a
you
loaded
really threw that
question.
man off the bridge.
Loaded question.
Yeah, that's you buy something new. If you want to go to work, and you want to do weekend stuff, and you want to take the families. You know what I mean,
We're getting this
new
bell
car
of reliability.
100%. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go for a drive on a Sunday and be broken down on the freeway, you buy something old. Like it's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things. But going older, you can potentially repair yourself. If when an engine light comes on, you got no idea what this is. Even the book says refer to owner's manual. I'm looking in the owner's manual, take the dealership. You don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things.
Yep.
So it just depends what you want to do with the car. I mean, like, old mate, are you this way or that way? I don't really know. Anyway, Curtis has with his S3. It's for what he wants to do with it. It's 100% practical. I'm not going to dispute that. But you got to look at the dollar side of things, I suppose. You buy a new car, you got finance. You buy something older, it's owned outright.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Depending on what you want to do. Like everybody's finances completely different, what they do for work, what they want to, what they do with themselves, I suppose. I mean, it's just, I love new cars. You know what I mean? The wife drives a new car. I drive a new car for work because it has to be regular, I suppose, and get me to and do what it has to do. And the older things are what I tinker with on a weekend because fingers crossed. I mean, they never rarely break down unless it's my own doing. I just don't look at my thermos and they cook.
It's all right. It's just the spark plugs, man. Don't worry. It's just the spark plugs.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you got the whole new verse old thing. It's say if you're having a drag race, right? You got two guys, 100%. They want to race down the strip. You got a guy, 100 G's the budget. You got a guy who goes out and spends 100 grand in a car, and this thing's going to be good for like, we'll say like, I don't know, 100 G. Would they get you a 9-second pass? Do you reckon? It should get you a 9-second pass. Yeah, but by the time you add in tubs, bodywork, wheels, diff, I'm assuming it should get you a 9-second pass. Okay, let's just start with Let's start with a Barra, right?
Yeah, I was going to say.
With a Barra. Let's say with a BA Falcon, right?
Yep.
Bit of engine work and whatever else not. They're good for a good 10-second pass all day, every day.
Yep.
I don't know how reliable they are, but then you've got a guy, he spent 100, let's say he spent 100K in this Ford Falcon, right? It hauls up. Then you got old mate who's gone out and bought himself what, an M3? Would you say an M3? M2?
Yeah.
Is that cheaper? Yeah, right. So bang off the showroom floor, people go, fuck, that's a fancy BMW rolling in the street, and old mate's just goes, it's a B8 Falcon. You know what I mean? So you got the two aspects of that from what people see from the outside world. But in a straight line, it depends. Old mate spent 100G and you run to 9, you spent 90, 100K, and you're running, what, a 10 and a half, 11 seconds? Then you pump money into it. Of course you're going to be quicker. It's going to be more refined driving to and from work, but you've spent more money.
Yeah.
Then you got the RS3, for example. You know, old mate Curtis's car, you got the all-wheel drive and bibs and bobs like that. You buy it for 60 and you spend 40. It's tit for tat. It's everyday driving, 100%.
If you put an IROS kit on it, you're probably looking at about the 40 mark before you finally refine it, and you're sitting at about that 1100, 1200 horsepower, and like that's just. I think that for you to get, I think it comes down to the balance of application for experience. What do you want to experience from the car, and what's the application? Like you've got in application, you've got this reliability, drag car, 9 second, la da da da, but then you've got experience of what it actually is behind the wheel, like. What we were talking about yesterday was the fact that comparing Josh's R32 to the R35, right?
All confused. Yeah.
Again, different budgets, but power, figures, all that kind of stuff, it comes down to experience. So the experience from the R32, it was always in beast mode. Like there was, you turn that car on, it was beast mode. Like it was just
Visceral.
Yeah, it was out of control, visceral. It was, you launched it at the lights and like, you kind of just prayed that you'd make it past the lights because it was just one of those things that you knew you were going to make it, but you just still had this part of you that was like, this doesn't feel safe, but it feels exciting. Whereas the R35, it will probably get you across the lights quicker on that launch. It will dig harder. It will definitely climb better. It's suited for that application, but the experience is lacking compared to the 32. But at the end of the day, obviously, launch the 32 down the track 10 times, you may be able to drive it home, maybe. But when you do get home, you're probably spending a little bit of time working on it because you've broken something. R35, send it down the track 10 times, you drive it home and for the next month and keep going until the next track day comes around. And it's just one of those things that, like, even though you sent down, you got all that accomplishment out of the R35, if it didn't tick the box for what experience you're after, like this 1J Cressida is going to be that. You know, this is going to be experience. It's going to be, as you said before, like
you'll feel everything, you'll smell everything.
Yeah, you'll be scared. You'll be white knuckled the whole entire time. Like I remember when we were talking to Tom Button, who literally just boosted his 86. Now that was you know, his outcome, what he wanted out of that, his goal, but now he's gone for the experience side, where we saw a video and as soon as he hit boost, his shifter decided that it wanted to just literally like, almost take off. Like the box is sitting there having its own fun time. Like he practically had another passenger in the car with the box sitting there, and it was just one of those things that you'll never get that out of the RS3, the R35, anything that's these new European quick as
like, they're
like,
so much more refined.
Yeah,
100%.
I've never driven at like 200 k's in a R34. I was like, when's he going to let off the brake? Right, 200 k's in the RS3. I was like, when are we going to accelerate? Like it's just one of those things that, like at the same time, a grasshopper can take you out at that speed. You know, like a grasshopper can end your life, but it's just one of those things that you have such a different experience, and it's just, I think you got to have that balance.
Is this where I could potentially put my foot in it where it makes a shit driver good?
Yeah, no, seriously, I could hand
like as polite as it is, like it's.
Yeah, I can hand the RS3 over to someone who is going from their learners to their Ps and get them to do their what's the name on it, and I can guarantee you in the RS3 they'll do better than if, like what I did when I was in a Tirana. You know, I was in an LJ Tirana, and it's harder to drive, but because it's harder to drive, you've got to become a better driver.
Correct.
Whereas someone, I kid you not, if I brought you up from a 16-year-old in the RS3 till 18 and then sent you on your Ps and then gave you a Tirana to do your Ps, you'd almost fail because it's too easy to drive. You know, it's you press the button, you can bounce into a corner. The back wheels will push you in. The front wheels will pull you out. You don't even need to adjust anything. Whereas driving experience in something that's older, it's all you. Like it is all how much you've got the weight on the pedal, how much you've got hands on the wheels.
That's why we have the best of both worlds. You're gonna have two cars.
So Jake,
Yeah, as said by Jake Van Dalen.
Yeah.
Sorry if I said it wrong. I find it better to have two cars, one for every day, maybe do a little bit to it. The second car to splash your cash on and have fun with it. Doing up a new car costs double for parts to get the same result as a cheap old car.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a tough
But
one.
depending on what new car you buy, are we talking Euro? Or are we talking Ford Falcon and Holden Commodores and
Yeah.
stuff like that?
Because
You
you're
go two ways with that.
you can't really buy them new, so
I mean, if we're talking parts, then yeah, but like not parts such as like an ECU, like an APR tune, you'll get way more out of that than what you will parts wise, budget wise. Like money to horsepower, you'll get more out of your tunes in your higher horsepower Euro cars than what you would out of your older parts that you'll get for older cars. Like I mean, you're talking, you wanted to upgrade the turbo on a Barra, or you wanted to get more out of that parts turbo. You're probably looking at your 5K mark before you get reliable power out of it, whereas you're looking at probably $1,600 for an APR tune.
100%. R&D goes a long way these days too.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and plug and play and stages like this.
I 100% agree with
Stage
the
11.
two-car method. 100% agree.
But you got to
with the
remember, it had to mold to the new mentality of
Yeah, of course.
car people.
two-car.
Of course.
So the old world, like any day of the week, give me enough 34 GTR with a T51 ISPL, and I'm happy for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
100%.
But you say those words to the new generation, they're like, what?
Yes.
What stage is that, bro? Then that's what's changed. You know, so it's as the world changes, as everything
It's so
changes, like our
true.
phones change every year.
Well,
It has
let's have
to-
the same
you've gotta
conversation in 15
move.
years' time and see where cars are at.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
be like, hey man, just got the new hovercraft, looks sick.
Yeah. Nah, bro. I still
Like,
prefer my
you don't
nitrogen
know.
tires.
You still put fuel in
You
your
know-
car?
Back in 2000, they were like, man, in 20 years we're going to be flying.
Yeah.
We're locked in our houses, can't leave more than 5Ks, and we can't leave after 8 p.m.
Have you watched the news? Apparently, Japan has a flying car. Looks more
Yes,
like a.
yes.
Yeah.
What do they call them things? It looks like a human drone. A drone. Yeah. It's like a bigger version of a drone.
Yeah.
How am
Yeah.
I going to fit my fucking family in that?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Just
I
saying.
don't know.
Oh god, I love it. I think. So we just had Steven say higher HP newer cars tend to be boring power. Unfortunately, again, yeah, it's the balance of that experience. Like you're really gonna like I'm. my higher
Steve
horsepower
says
newer
that now,
cars-
but I bet you next year he'll roll up in a twin turbo Huracan and he won't be saying that. So
Nah.
And
No,
that's
but
the thing.
it's you take a 600 horsepower R35 GTR, which Josh has, to his 600 horsepower R32 GTR, which Josh had, and hands down, I will take the 32 GTR. Just give me the keys for the 32. It is raw. It is angry. It is you turn that car on and it wants to kill you. But the 35 is like, come join me. I will take you on a nice ride
Yeah.
and not
Again,
throw flames.
it's all dependent. Like it's the 32. Every time I went to start it, I wasn't sure if it was going to start. I went home. And then I started the next day. I wasn't sure if it was going to start. Get in it, like Curtis said, launch it, whatever, in Mexico. Come back home, park in the garage, get back, start in the morning on Monday, go to work.
Yeah.
It does 10 liters per 100 Ks. Like what you want.
And it's also the balance of the platform. So, I mean, now that I've kind of listened and I'm kind of like taking it in, R32, for you to get it to the 5 to 600 mark, you're doubling its power over the chassis, right? R35, I can promise you now, if it was 1200 horsepower, you wouldn't be saying it's docile. Like,
Well, that's literally what Steve's just said. R35 becomes great with 1200 horsepower, which then becomes a driver's car again.
yeah, so I think it's about breaking the threshold of the chassis. Like, I think it's about breaking the threshold of the foundations of the car. Again, RS3 at 1200 horsepower.
It's not going to be
Like that.
a blatant nano driver car. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
sketch.
Yeah, and 1200 twin turbo Huracans, you're going to get an insane
Sketch.
experience out of that. Like, you need to know what you're doing with that stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
100%.
So I
But
think,
you
I think it's
reckon-
about breaking past the threshold of where the platform sits and what it was intended for. And I feel like the older cars were meant for less, and we've got them to such, like, really... Like, we're talking Barras that, you know, they came out and were running like 200 and something or other kilowatts, like threes or something like that at the time, and now we've got them at like 1,500 or 1,200.
Crazy.
You got 1,000? That's all? What do you mean?
Yeah, the
And like a
1,000
9-second
horsepower
pass.
now is your 300 kilowatts back in the day.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. It's crazy, man. Like most drifters these days, they've all got 300 kilowatts. Back when I was growing up, man, if you had 180, whoo, watch out. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Godlike.
crazy, man.
Well, I remember,
But again,
I remember the street
progressive.
scene. If you had 300, you were king. We're like, bro, that guy makes 300. That guy makes 300. Now, you say 300, they're like,
Oh.
so what?
Yeah.
Is that the tire size or 300?
300. I'm like, did you just drive it off the showroom floor? Like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's the new normal now.
It's same when X-Gates come out. Most times they were plumbed in if you had one at all. Now they're out on it like every second car has one. Like, it's just crazy. Like, but again, stuff changes going. Phones, for example. Man, I remember when I had an old Sony Ericsson flip phone. Now I've got some whiz bang phone I still don't know how to use, and I just press the button to answer it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
That's all right. And then now we've got, like, you know, the hypercars coming out, like even like the Valkyries and everything that's coming out right now. We're talking 0 to 100 in less time than you can even fathom. Like, literally could have gone to 0 to 400 and back in the time that I said this sentence with hypercars. And that's something.
Yeah.
Like that 10 to 13 second mark for 400Ks is stupid. Like, it's out of this world nowadays. And here we are talking 300s. And it's like...
it's an event I probably shouldn't say too much. Anyway, I want to go do the CUDA. Not just for running a quick time or just for the atmosphere. It looks sick, man. You got a heap of
hell
good
yeah.
cars on a road surface. It's,
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
Josh
a prep
can give us
track,
insight
it's
on that.
just,
He's been to a couple now.
Like, but have you driven one?
Driven there?
No, yeah, driven at CUDA, as in entered the event.
No. So
You should have done it anyway.
Yeah. But again, unfortunately, those levels of cars are just next tier. The cars that come there are just ridiculous. So
100%. That sort of stuff, man. It's just crazy. Unprepped stuff, like, is just having a quick car on an unprepped service is quick.
Yeah.
And the more drag
You
stuff
just throw
I
it
sort of
down.
watch, it just excites me. Like, it's just crazy. Like, my younger self was like, anybody can drive fast in a straight line, takes no skill. Man, watching some of these videos and whatnot, and the more you sort of delve into it, man, it's crazy.
yes, definitely.
But,
Always, we can always chat to you, Leigh. So I think all our Instagrams down there at the bottom. So if anyone's got questions, queries for Leigh, shoot him a message.
And,
Might take a
stay
time or
tuned.
two
So
to,
actually, Leigh, you actually document a lot. Do you say on your Snapchat? Is that where?
so on my Snapchat, the one I think you got lifted, which is Lethally Drift, I haven't posted much in ages just because, I don't know, work and family. I haven't had much to do really because my motor's off getting done. But now I've got the Cressy, I start doing stuff, and then, like I said, I'm not big on the YouTube, so I just tend to run like a blog type style thing on the Insta.
Friday
So,
Arvo Snapchats are where it's at with Leigh.
yeah, Snapchat. Yeah, I'm probably after that. How good is it? Hey.
I see it come through. It's like Leigh, and I'm like, all right, this is a full blown video. Let's all prep and get ready for this. It's like, hey guys, it's Friday Arvo. I'm like, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah.
Volume up.
I think 100% Leigh, like, start grabbing all of that footage, just compile it. Doesn't matter how you do it or any whiz bang transitions or anything, and just post it to YouTube. Like, document yourself. Let it be there for all time. Because
The hardest thing is using the computer to get it onto the internet. That's my biggest hurdle. I mean, if someone's to come edit and do stuff for me, 100%, man, whatever. But
honestly,
yeah.
there's apps out there that will literally allow you to join 2 videos, 3 videos, 4 videos. Like, just join your videos in your gallery on your phone to one video. And you can literally just click on all of your Snapchats sequentially or whatever, consecutive, however you did it, and go through it, put them into one video, compile that, and then on your phone still, just chuck it up onto YouTube. Takes one app and then YouTube.
I like how you say it so easily. The other day, I went to open something, and Sarah's like, I pressed the button on my phone crashed. Sarah's like, "What'd you do?" I gave it to her. She opened the app, but I tried it twice, and my phone crashed. Go figure.
Yeah,
Like,
bad vibes.
I've
Got a few
the
questions
Midas
coming
touch,
through.
Oh, yeah.
Joshua Hillages, how would you recommend drag racing and drifting to people?
So like
Well,
maybe
I haven't done any drag racing, so I can't give you any insight onto that. Drifting, how would you recommend?
How'd you get started?
Like, get started. Like, how would you do it?
Well, Facebook is the biggest thing for any form of content these days. So, Vic Drifts, Keep It Real, Drifting SA. You got High Tech, which is more of your pro level sort of stuff. But man, YouTube, it just, if you're going in for the first time, keep your car basic. Just have fun. Like, doesn't matter what you have, just enjoy it. Is probably just, I don't know, it's recommending it wise. It's an experience you can't experience anywhere else. Going a passenger in a car, you know what I mean, whether they've driven a couple of times or 2,000 times, the experience is still second to none.
Yep.
With the tires hitting you in the face and the smoke is.
It's just an intense ride. Well, as a passenger, you've got no control. So I remember when I took Sarah my first time back, I think it was close to 6 years, a couple of years back. And it started off house getting in, just normal basic stuff, low entry sort of speed. And Sarah was in the car most of the morning. And took a couple of the boys out, and then obviously it's like riding a bike, confidence builds back up. Next thing you know, we're sort of top of third into the crossover. She sort of lasted a lap and said, "No, I'm out, I'm done, see you, bye." So, because obviously the rush from when it was started the day to the second day was just too much. So some people love it, some people hate it. If you got a fear of not being in control, I wouldn't recommend it. If you like a rush, sick.
Yep.
It's sort of hard to explain. Like it really is. It's like a roller coaster, but 10 times funner. It's, you know what I mean? Like it just, yeah.
And no rails.
Being hurt, 100% being hurt a little wall going, shit, I hope we're going to make it. It's just one of those things. Like, you know what I mean? You really got to have faith in your driver. But again, most people that drive on track, they're all there, whether they're learning or experienced, makes no difference. They're all there to do the same thing. So.
Brody Drew was asking how we're all doing during ISO, but everyone's missing the track.
Yes.
Yeah.
Massively.
Definitely missing the
100%.
track.
And I think
Just
we're
the
all
smell
missing
of
it.
fuel and
Yeah.
tires and
The
just
best part
random
is
shit.
like
like
we're all
that.
missing it for different
communicating
reasons.
and talking and catching up and talking about your cars and everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of, I'm just going to touch base quickly on the ISO thing. Obviously, since all this lockdown started, obviously Sarah not working and having a newborn, she hasn't been able to go out or do anything as such. There's been the mother group's been cancelled, play groups, play centres. So in terms of seeing the female side of things and having a child and some women that are home, I reckon they're probably copying it pretty hard. I mean, stage four, as Sarah said, doesn't matter what stage has come along, it changes absolutely nothing for what I do as a person. I'm still stuck in the house. I can't go to a park. We can't go shops, can't have a coffee. It's just, yeah. So, I mean, we're here sort of touching on cars and missing the track and all sort of stuff. But you've got the other side of things where partners, you know what I mean? Where it doesn't matter whether they work in an office, you know what I mean? They've got kids, lots sort of stuff. It's still that, you know what I mean? It's hard. Like it's trying to find stuff to do and entertain and follow a day. It's a mission. I reckon it's easier to go to work. Just saying.
Getting a reason to actually stick to a routine is like the biggest thing for me at the moment. Like my routine's gone. Like I do not sleep at all through the night or through the AM. I might get lucky if I sleep from like 10 AM to 1. Like that's my stupid routine at the moment. Is like 3 hours a day, 10 AM to 1 PM. And I'm like, why do I need to break out of this routine? Like, there's no reason. Like, the only reason why I'm not doing something now is because this. So, I guess where I'm going with this is try, like, my advice would be try to enforce an expectation, but include other people through what we have, the access we have, virtual access.
100%.
Like, you know, whether it's going to be, hey, let's do dinner nights Zoom meeting wise. Like, I don't care. Go tell your friend right now, hey, Wednesday night, you and I, we're going to get the exact ingredients, the exact same everything, and we're going to cook the exact same meal while on Zoom in the kitchen and sit down and eat it together, and that's our dinner night. Like, I don't, like, try to find a way to give you...
Zoom pizza nights.
Bang.
Yeah,
exactly.
you got to break
that.
Like, if you're a car guy...
I've done that.
Yeah, if you're a car guy, go out and wash your car while on a Zoom call, or go out and do what you would normally do out there, but just try and find a way to connect virtually, and hold yourself accountable to it. Say Wednesday night, 8 p.m. I'm doing a live stream. We've promised this to you, so no matter what, we have to be there, and that's a commitment. And that that we've lost our commitments, we've lost our work commitments, we've lost our routine commitments, we've lost all sense of freedom to actually do all those commitments. So just try and find new commitments in your life that you can actually.
I've started gaming online and streaming it.
Bang,
Oh, God.
it's so
Also,
good.
the flip of
It's
the
just something
coin,
different.
the flip
It
of the
is.
coin is use the time to also relax, because when we get back to normality, we're going to be 300 mile an hour doing stuff,
Yes.
going to see people. So one of my
Definitely.
the boys from work, we were actually chatting about it, was when you got nothing to do, literally jump on your phone, look at who's online on Messenger, and literally send them a message. You probably haven't spoken to them in 6 months' time.
Oh,
Send them a message, have a conversation, like take a breath, slow down, and just enjoy this period. Because when we get back to work and going a million miles an hour, we're going to think back and say, damn, that COVID time went really quick.
Do you remember when we watched a whole Netflix season in a day? Yeah.
yeah. Wish we could do that again.
It's fun. Obviously, you guys, I know obviously what Josh and Mo do, Curtis. I'm not 100% sure what you do, but in terms of my work base, my life sort of work base hasn't really changed. I still get up, I go to work every day, work on site, do what I have to do. Obviously, adhere to the rules that we got to do. But COVID too much hasn't really affected my life as today. It's just more the social sort of aspect.
Yep.
But work-wise, but again, I mean, it's some people it affects people differently.
Yep.
But the time slowing work down has been good.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's like having a holiday without having a holiday, I suppose. I mean, like sometimes it's good to slow down a bit. I got extremely wrapped up in my work and put it first before a lot of things, just because I mean, work is work, but COVID's good for that sort of thing, I suppose. If you want to slow your life down to a point where you sort of take a step back and look at a few things.
I say that it's the strangest thing ever, but my positive way of looking at this is the fact that right now it's hard to look at it this way. I know it's going to have a lot of controversy in your mind, but we are so gifted because I bit of knowledge. I Two Visions, which is sponsor for Vivid Chats. I have Two Visions, which is my business. It's video production, photos. I'm a photographer, videographer, cinematographer, graphic websites, the whole lot. But I involve myself heavily into marketing, production, content. And so during this time, I'm completely cancelled out. But nevertheless, from a business perspective, as someone who is an entrepreneurial material, or whether it's yourselves or it's kids growing up right now. My mum works at a school, and kids are going through this new adaptive process of learning from home and through WebEx and through all these ways. We are so gifted that this is a once in a life opportunity that we can adapt to a global pandemic where we're going to have mistakes that we make that we'll never make any other time. Right now, we have one opportunity to look at what we've got, which no one has ever had in this generation, in this time. So right now, kids are learning how to adapt at the youngest age possible. It's forced on them, and there is a pretty good success rate at the moment. And we thought to ourselves before that would never happen. Right now, business owners are finding ways to go virtual. Yourself, you're not tech savvy. You're on a Zoom call right now.
Right? I know. My IT guru had to set that for me.
But nevertheless, this is all this
sir.
this adaptivity that we're all creating, and it's so much motivation for us to learn these skills that otherwise, without a global pandemic, we'd never be in a situation for us to advance in this direction.
Very true.
Coming out of this,
never have used this before, so
coming out of this, we should be miles ahead in knowledge, in mistakes, which is the best knowledge, than so many other generations behind us, that this should push us forward better post-COVID. And that's just the way
100%.
I look at it.
Well, I feel businesses might run differently. My view on it would be massive. Let's say if I own an office space, for example, right, and you have people come in and they all work at a computer desk. Everybody's working really well from home, so cut an overhead, you lose office space, right? By doing that, you lose commercial real estate, which affects a different industry.
Yep.
Then you look at how do you train new staff. So you still have to have some quality. I mean, it's it's good and bad, I suppose. Sort of
flows on.
correct.
And maybe this
hard.
is also the event that allows us to appreciate the things we didn't before. Like, maybe it's not the fact that, your business has now developed a way to teach the staff. It's crap. Well, we should have treated the opportunity to teach them in person better. Like, we should have appreciated that better. So, like, sometimes it's the fact that, like, right now I'm going through a couple of months of pure mistakes and pure downfall of learning from things that I'm like, I should have appreciated this before. Not that I'm learning it now and I should go ahead doing this new way. I don't feel like I did anything wrong before, but I should have appreciated more before. And
Just
so,
gives you
like,
time to reflect.
yeah, like that's going back to the question of how we're coping. That's how I'm coping. It's how I keep like the positive mindset. I believe that you can't live a positive life with a negative mindset. So keep it positive. And keep rolling with the punches. So,
100%.
We had Steve who.
Before you go, yeah.
Yeah, we had Steve who had the give us a setup specs that you're looking to run on the JZ.
Oh, I don't know, man. Look, so basic stuff, obviously. Bore size, maybe go to 86.5. If I can retain the factory bore of 86, sick. I just don't know how the block is. Pretty much just forged pistons, forged rods, factory crank. Head-wise, probably won't port it. I'll probably just put double row valve springs, 280 cams, and just, intake manifold. The factory ones make up to just over 1,000 horsepower, but a nice fancy Hypertune or Pleasantman. Looks the goods. You don't really need it, but let's see what sort of comes into the budget. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Safety, but you know what I mean. So, look, spec-wise, gearbox, like I said, maybe the Turbo 400. Pricing, don't know, as where you can pick up a Sora box for like $500. They sort of throw them out. There's people that build them, and I haven't really delved too much into that. And sort of what goes on rear end will be as is. So, but probably run a Haltech. If I can get one secondhand, be fantastic. Just because aftermarket ECU is probably the best way to go, running that sort of power.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
So, but trying to keep it cost effective to a point where it'll punch out a solid figure and not blow a hole outside of the block. But I won't be running E85. I'm not an E85 fan. I know that's mixed things, but I just,
The pure 98.
No. So I run a Power Plus 105 in the 14, which essentially is just a higher octane fuel. The big benefit is fuel system wise, you just run it like a 98. So when I made 300, I was still running side feed 750s. I was still running factory fuel lines, just running a Walbro 245 pump, like nothing crazy. It's just the higher octane fuel. Disadvantage is it burns hotter. So that's where I'll speak to the doctor and see what we're going to run on the bottle. Do we go to 85 because obviously runs a bit cooler, or are we good to run it on the 105 and just add the spray? But pretty much
right.
the motor will get built, and then the ECU, I think he's an Epdonic fan, but we'll just go from there and see what happens. So.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, you have to keep us updated, and let us know.
Snapchat will be running hot once the parts start flowing in. Don't you worry.
Yes. Friday Arvo Snapchats,
Sarah,
boys and girls.
Sarah, your goal is to show him how to use Instagram stories as well. So
Yes.
we'll get you a lot of followers on Instagram, Leigh. So
Honestly,
she did all my editing last night. I just made the video and said, well, "What do you want me to do?"
I think the best approach to this, Sarah, is honestly just record video, and then once you got the video in the gallery, then post it to Snapchat, then upload it to your IGTV. Like, honestly, it's just one of those things that you haven't got really a time limit on that. You're not going to go over a couple of hours. So, more platforms, more documentation, more people can see it, provide the advice, as you were saying before, speak to the right people about it, so you'll find that help, and people can ask you as well, questions throughout the build.
100%. But I'll probably finish the 14 first before I delve on the Cressy. Make sure that's up and running sweet. So when we do it out, we can go slay tires.
Yes.
Yeah. And just so everyone's aware, as we do all streams, we've got the Lifeline numbers down below. Text, call, and our inboxes are always open, like we always say. Mine, Josh, Curtis, Stephen, Leigh. If you've got any random questions, as he said, he's a qualified mechanic. So if you feel a bit
Oh no.
Dumb, don't want
I've
to
been
post
out of the trade
online.
a long time.
Shoot
Yeah.
him an inbox. I'm sure he'll be able to help out. If you don't want to post
Yeah.
it
If you want
online,
roofing
cop some
needs, hit me
heat.
up. Holla, holla.
And any terms
Roofing
you've heard
needs
us-
as well.
Yeah.
Give him a call. This gentleman up here. And
any
also
term-
with the
You go, Mo.
you go. No, it's all good.
I was gonna say any terms you heard tonight. If you're like, oh crap, don't even know what that was, or like anything we spoke about that you're keen to speak more about, just message us. Like, don't feel like you're like, oh crap, like I didn't understand what they meant when they were talking about this, but I'm keen to know, and just stick to Google. Feel free to message us and just ask us. Continue the conversation in our DMs. I have a few friends that I haven't spoken to quite a while. Started watching this, and then afterwards would continue almost every single chat, and they'd be like, "Oh, I loved how you talked about this," and so DMs are right there. Just send us some messages. We're
And if
always
you want
open.
us to improve, change something, let us know. If you want to see someone on the live chats, on Vivid Chats, message us, let us know.
If you'd like to be a guest, shoot us a message. We'll just obviously suss out what you want to talk about, what ideas you have, and
speak English, if you know.
It's been fun. I recommend it. 100%. And there's never a
if you're
dumb
keen-
question either.
Yes.
That's it.
literally no such thing as a dumb question.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to be the end of tonight's live stream. We definitely ran over time. This is it was a bit of a long one, but we've still got viewers sticking around, so we really appreciate you guys.
And thank you, Leigh, as well, for...
Yes, thank you so much,
with
Leigh,
us.
for joining us.
Thank
and,
you, Lethal Leigh.
sharing it.
It's been fun.
Awesome, guys. All right, catch you from the Wednesday night.
Later.
See you.
Cool.
What do I do now? Are we off?